Welcome to Redtastic. Story 1. My brother is 34 and I'm 26 female. We share the same mother. My father, 68, married my mother when my brother was 8. My brother has never had a good relationship with our father. He never called him dad. To be fair, dad was hard on him and he did display favoritism towards me, as I was his biological daughter. When he was 13 and I was 5, our mother passed from cancer. His relationship with our dad soured even more after that, and as a teenager, they would get into a lot of fights. My brother left home at 18 for university and never looked back. He barely visited us, only for Christmas. He met a girl at school and they got married young. He didn't tell our dad about his first grandkid, and if it wasn't for me, he would never have known. Anyways, he became a doctor. His wife and him soon opened a successful medical spa. Now it has multiple locations and they are easily earning $500K a year. I know this because my friend works as their secretary. They live in a gigantic mansion. They drive brand name cars. Their kids go to private schools. His wife wears all the designer clothes. They go on vacation every other month. Point is, they are loaded as F. My dad got diagnosed with terminal cancer 1 month ago. He declined very quickly and is at home with my husband and I. I told my brother, who came to visit for 2 days. It was a brief and awkward meeting. Before he left, my brother told me he would be willing to cover half of the costs of a private caregiver. I said okay because I didn't think it would be too expensive. In fact, it's insanely expensive. I called him and told him I can't afford even half of the caregiver's salary, and I asked if he could contribute more. He said he would cover 60% and no more. We got into an argument and he said, "Why should I treat this man as a dad when he's never even treated me like a son?" I said now is not the time for decades-long quarrels. Is it absurd for me to expect him to pay more than 60%? He literally earns 10 times more than me a year. I would take care of my dad myself, but that would mean taking time off work, and I can't do that. I'm feeling really stressed right now. The government-supplied home care that visits us is not enough. I do whatever I can after work, but it's the morning that we need the most care. I've tried my best to increase our government care, but to no avail. I feel inadequate, like I can't provide my father with a good quality of life in his last months on earth. What infuriates me is that my brother could easily cover all the costs of a private caregiver for the rest of my dad's life, and then some, just by going on one less vacation this year. At least his wife was kind enough to send a brand new hospital-style bed for my father to use. I doubt my brother knew that she did this, and would probably get mad at her if he found out. Am I asking too much of my brother, or is he being totally callous? You're the a-hole OP, and no, your brother is not callous. It's human to have these feelings, but you will be an a-hole to ask. Your half-brother has no financial responsibilities to you or your father. And second, just because your brother has more money doesn't mean he's obligated to pay more. He's already doing a lot, paying 60% for a person who is almost a stranger to him, probably not someone he would consider a biological father or even a stepdad. Your brother also isn't bringing decades-long quarrels. He's pointing out the fact he is not close to your father. Don't misuse and take advantage of your brother's very generous kindness. Now for some comments. Your dad treated him like a second-class citizen in his own home. You freely admit that while trying to garner sympathy for yourself, so I can imagine it was far worse than you're letting on. Your half-brother owes your father nothing. I'm sorry it negatively impacts you, but your father is reaping the karma he sowed. Your half-brother has been more than generous in what he's offered, and his financial situation has zero to do with it. Neither you nor your father are entitled to his money. You're the a-hole. You probably don't know this, because you were the favorite child and favorite children tend to be a bit sheltered about these things. But when a child's parent is cruel to them, the child is unable to form the normal attachment bonds to the parent. Not only that, in order to protect themselves mentally and emotionally, the child has to detach from their parent. The child learns not to need the parent because the parent is unable or unwilling to fulfill the child's needs. In other words, your father literally made your brother like this. Sorry. And by the way, OP, your friend is also an a-hole for divulging her employer's private financial information and should be fired from a job, as are you, for snooping around in your brother's finances. It's none of your business how much he makes. Your blathering about how he lives in a mansion and how many vacations he goes on is obnoxious. Keep going and you will have no real relationship with him at all. Dismissing your father's shitty treatment of him as a child, as past quarrels are insulting as hell, and pressing him and arguing with him to contribute more was incredibly rude. I understand you love your dad and are going through a hard time, but rein in your entitlement. Story 2. Me, 39 male, and my wife, 37 female, have been married for 15 years and we have 2 kids, a teen boy and a toddler girl. Our marriage started to fail about 4 years ago and we decided to have another baby in hopes it would fix things. Our daughter's birth helped things for a while, but things fell apart. A few months ago, she decided she wants a divorce. I have never cheated. I've never been physical with her or the kids. We are both 2 adults who were trying our best, but realized it wasn't working. I came home from work one evening to find her and our toddler packed and waiting. She said they were going to stay with her sister and brother-in-law for the weekend. Over the weekend, I was to move out all my stuff, everything. That's how she said it. While I'm gone, I expect you to use the time to find yourself somewhere acceptable to live and to be gone. She said she was sending my ex-brother-in-law over to help me move. Our son was already at his aunt and uncle's, having been picked up after school by ex-sister-in-law. My wife took our daughter and left. At first, in the hours after she left, I looked into apartments, rentals, what I could do for myself and my kiddos. Then I started thinking, why should I be the one to leave? My name is on the deed to the house just like my wife's. We both own the home. It is our house legally, the both of us, named on the documents. Coupled with the fact that I've been suggesting therapy, church, workshops to mend our marriage, making a conscious effort to make things right. Why should I be the one to leave? I don't want to make my wife sound bad because she truly is a lovely, hard-working woman and I still care for her. But she stopped trying a long time ago. When my brother-in-law showed up the next day, I sent him away, told him I'm not moving out. No one could make me leave. It's my house just as much as hers. If she wants to move out, then that's fine. She can find a new home and I will take care of our children in the home. And she can share custody with me. But I wasn't going to flip my whole life upside down. I had no warning she was planning this and I was not leaving. My wife spent the weekend blowing up my phone, calling me every unfair, unkind, untrue name and accusation. She came home that Monday and moved into one of the spare bedrooms. Our kids are also at home with us. We've been living like this for a while now. Her in the spare bedroom, me in the master, parenting the kids, but otherwise we're separated. She's even seeing someone now, but I'm certain she wasn't cheating. She's been trying to alienate our friends against me and has enlisted them in trying to get me to leave. I've remained firm. Despite it all, we've not let our children see the worst of it, although our 14-year-old son knows we're divorcing. Am I the a-hole for refusing to move out, despite the fact that my wife wants me to? Not the a-hole, OP, but your wife is for sure. If the marriage fizzled out and it's nobody's fault, then she has no right to treat you like this. She should have asked you two to have a conversation about everything. Not just unilaterally make decisions. Do not move out and get a lawyer like yesterday. Do not agree to give the house to the person who is awarded the most custody. That's ridiculous. That house needs to be sold and profits split. Or else she can buy you out if she wants it. That all needs to be done during the divorce and not before. Many states are leaning towards a more 50-50 custody situation for parents, so it's likely that neither of you will end up with more physical custody. Now for some comments. Not the a-hole. Get a lawyer. Do not leave the home that you own, along with your wife. It's likely to go poorly for you during the divorce depending on where you live. And you're still going to be legally obligated to make those mortgage payments, if you have a mortgage. If your wife decides not to, can you afford that and an apartment at the same time? Stay civil. Don't move out. Keep excellent records of any sketchy shit your wife pulls. Time to get a lawyer and get the legal stuff going. Not the a-hole. And in some states, moving out could put you at a legal disadvantage in the divorce. It would be viewed as abandoning the marital home. I would definitely speak to an attorney. I definitely think she's the a-hole for basically telling you to get gone over a single weekend. If my husband cheated, then yes, of course I would expect him to get the F out. But if things just ended, and it was no one's fault, I would never presume to think I get to stay and he has to leave. There would obviously be a discussion. Not the a-hole. Just based on what you wrote here, assuming this is just a relationship fizzling out, it seems that she made a unilateral decision about what was to happen with your living situation going forward. And it isn't realistic to have you or anyone move out over the span of a weekend. It would have been better for both of you if you had a conversation about how she wanted the relationship to end and what to do with the logistics of each of your living situations first. Story 3. Using a throwaway. So I, 29 male, founded a startup in 2014. And after some venture capital, it's really taken off in the past 2 years, making me pretty wealthy. My strategy, I'm keeping it vague for obvious reasons, is to corner a small niche market and then slowly expand into related markets, corner them, so on and so forth. Amazon had the same strategy. First it cornered the online books market, then I believe it moved on to CDs and other forms of media, since they're kind of related to books. My business has put some other companies in our initial niche out of business, and our expansion has started to cause profits to dwindle for the market we're expanding into. Now, my sister Amy, 23 female, is very critical of my business practices. She thinks it's unethical of me to deliberately undercut other companies. She always talks about how I'm making people lose their jobs and how I'm being unfairly aggressive. The fact of the matter, in my opinion, is that it's just business. When you're selling something similar to other companies, competition is bound to happen, and everyone tries to undercut each other. If I were to play nice, it would be my company out of business and my employees now out of a job. Secondly, it is ironic how she criticizes me given the fact she and the rest of the family live off my income. I pay the tuition for her college. She's doing a master's. I pay for an apartment, I bought her car, and so on and so forth. So if she finds my practices so wrong, why is she still using my money? Being July 4th, we were supposed to have a family dinner. Both Amy and I were annoyed, since we would prefer to be going out with our friends, but it's a family tradition. Amy kept swiping at me over business, so I calmly asked her why she's driving a car I bought from an apartment I paid for, and so on and so forth. Because it's hypocritical to dislike my business practices and still accept money that comes from them. She got incredibly mad. Am I the a-hole? Now for some comments. I disagree with cutting her off. Be the bigger person. Talk with her about how she feels about your business. Also ask how she lives accepting money from the same source. Help her reconcile her cognitive dissonance. She is young, hasn't thought it all through. Help her do that. Way too many knee-jerk, thoughtless reactions in this thread. Be kind, be firm. This is a teaching moment. Afterward, if the lessons aren't learned and not grateful, then you teach harder lessons. I agree with this. I would sit her down and tell her that her constant criticism is wearing you down and she has a choice. Either she cuts the bullshit and you continue funding her lifestyle, or she sticks to her principle and pays her own way. This is not you being manipulative, this is you making her realize she's an adult and is responsible for her choices. She can't have it both ways. She's acting like a social justice warrior snowflake, bemoaning how unfair capitalism is, while enjoying all the benefits. She is an ungrateful hypocrite and it's time for her to grow up or pay her own way. In my opinion, you're not the a-hole for telling your sister to stop mooching off you. I won't speak much about your business practice, as this isn't the matter at hand. It seems you already know it's unethical, but I do hope you eventually get to a point where you could start a new, healthy business, as you sound like quite the entrepreneur with a lot to offer. More to the point of your sister, I would just give her one of two choices. 1. Stop accepting your money since she is an advocate for unethical business behavior. She can't have her cake and eat it too. 2. Appreciate the fact that you are supporting her financially.